mystery and horror, the air itself is filled with monsters.
Children of the night, what music they make. He's alive! He's alive!
Well, hello, all you monster fiends, and thank you for joining us for another deep dive, factoid-filled episode exploring Hollywood's most famous monsters. I am your mistress of ceremonies, Sam, and I am joined, as always, by Dan from Bleeding Marvelous. Say hello, Dan.
Hello, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
Hiya.
Oh, that caught the back of my throat there. Oh, talk a second.
It's the reaction I have on everybody, though. So,
Oh, that's... Oh, God, hang on.
she's just throwing up. It's perfectly fine. Don't worry.
I'm nearly there. Oh, God, I didn't think that was going to catch the back of my throat the way it did.
And I'm the one with the lurgy.
What an intro. Here's Dan.
Oh, good God. Who wants her on here?
Oh, hey, right. We're back in the room. Oh, today on Monsters Up North.
Where am I?
Definitely on Monsters Up North. We're doing a different episode than a movie, an actor. I'm going to cough again.
We are doing a very different episode. It is something that we have been toying with for a little while. And it is basically a TV episode.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for the rescue.
That's okay. I won't
Oh my
spoil it because I know you got your plans.
I'm good. Oh,
Yeah.
am I back? I can't believe seeing your name actually caused us to choke. Listeners, audio listeners, I am so sorry. Nobody needs to hear that. Yes, today's the X-Files. Not just the X-Files in a whole, just an episode of the X-Files. So that is not where I thought you were going with that.
Felt like it. Sorry.
But that is not where I thought you were going. I was like thinking, what's she singing there? We're doing an episode called Home, which every X-Files fan knows straight away off the bat what Home actually is.
Yes.
It's going to be interesting. So I will try and get the disclaimer out the way with, and then we'll crack on with the episode. So everything discussed in today's episode is our opinions and our opinions alone. If you'd like to discuss anything from today's episode, please come and join us on the Facebook page, Discord, or the comment section, where we can have an open discussion. But what we won't have is anyone coming for us and telling us our opinions are wrong. We can all agree to disagree in fandom. So let's keep it fun, keep it kind, and keep the toxic behaviour out of her nerdism.
And don't be a dick.
What she said. I dare say I did that. I did that without coughing my lungs up. So, yeah, if Dan warned me at the beginning of the episode, she's not feeling grand and that she might cough a few times. I don't think I didn't mean to steal your thunder in any shape or form, mind.
How dare you?
Terrible. So, Home is the second episode of the fourth season of the science fiction program, The X-Files. Another one of their Monster of the Week stories, first airing on the 11th of October, 1996. Once a banned episode, Monsters Up North brings you Home.
I want to do a quick trigger warning because I am a little bit worried about this one.
I feel like
have you got
I do not have anything written down for it, but I feel like there should be.
Trigger warning for infanticide and incest and many other things. I don't really know how to encompass all the other things, but to start off, we'll go with those two. So
I feel like if you're watching this episode or listening to this episode, you kind of know what you're in for.
Yeah.
So you've been warned right off the bat.
Tried.
Well,
Tried.
It was a banned episode due to its taboo subject.
Oof.
However, it was only banned from 96 to 99, and it was brought back as a Halloween special.
Not really sure what relevance it has to Halloween other than
The spooky aspect to it. I feel like because it's not the I don't want to say the only one because that is so bold of me to say without actually looking into it. But it's one of the only episodes I can remember that doesn't have a supernatural feel to it.
yeah, it's very real. There's no like
Really real.
with all the other episodes of X-Files, in my opinion, they were things that could be real, they'd seen happen but couldn't be explained, or they were, like the Mothman or
Yeah.
there was lots
Aliens.
well, I wasn't going to go there because they stole Fox's sister in 1973, but as we all know, on every episode,
Which he references in this one, but in the best way possible.
he never mentions it. You would never know.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that scene was really funny, and we'll get into it once we get into the episode. Based on God, I don't want to say this, but it is based on 2 true events.
Yep. Yeah, the writers went away. Basically the 2 main writers on this is Glenn Morgan and James Wong, and they had been writers for season 1 and season 2 of X-Files, but they went off on their own when season 3 was being made to make their own TV show that flopped. So they got brought back for 4 episodes of season 4 to write 4 episodes, and this was their first one back. Hence the name Home. It was them saying their home. And that was as far as they were willing to go with the connotation, but the more you watch the episode, the more the name takes on many different
levels.
Yeah,
so the writers it wasn't just a blanket sheet story.
No,
this was well researched. I'm going to give you the first one because I want to do the second one.
So I'm taking it you're going to do Chaplin.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, the first story is that there's a 1993 movie. I think it was 93, somewhere around there.
92.
92.
And it was a
documentary movie thing called My Brother's Keeper. And it was about a family that lived in a very rural area. They are what people would call possibly hillbilly / redneck / whatever the terminology is from where you're from. That's what they would be called. And they lived in a cabin. It was about a man whose brother had special learning difficulties, special needs that needed to be catered for, and then being where they were, he didn't necessarily get the care he needed because his family were also of such IQs and such they were all very much of the same ilk due to interbreeding. And the story goes that it's based on the relationship and the family from My Brother's Keeper, where one of the brothers ends up dying, and there's 2 situations in which they say it happened. They think he either there was an accident and they tried to cover it up, or the second one was that they think that him and his brother were in the midst of a sexual relationship and the brother killed him during it, not to cover it up, but just something happened and he killed him afterwards because they found traces of his brother on his clothes. Put it this way, that kind of fluid should not be on your brother's clothes.
No.
Without going completely, transparent with, we can all figure out where I'm going here. I don't know.
I'm not say it.
I'm somewhere in that realm of do I say it? Do I not? I don't really know.
In all the episodes we've done, I've never seen you squirm so much explaining something, because it is not an easy subject to actually say out loud. It's reading it is one thing.
Yeah.
Saying it is something completely different.
It's because if I was to say it how I would say it, I get worried that
yeah.
Not that I don't think it would be non-PC, but there'd be somebody that would take great offense to it. So I'm trying to really put thought into.
Yeah, you want to be really careful with the wording of things, and I
Yeah,
totally understand that, because the last thing that we ever want to do is to upset anyone.
no. I mean, this is so far from most people's everyday reality, in the sense of that this family that really did exist
mhm.
were like on the outskirts of the town, and they were ostracized, and they were, you saw them in town and you were like, whoa, everybody, ooh,
Yeah, yeah.
so
This real life family has had movies and TV
yeah,
shows based around them. They were the Ward family.
yeah,
The brother who was alleged of murdering was Willand Ward, and it was Dilbert
yeah,
Ward, who
yeah,
all had an IQ of 68.
yes. Now the thing was as well, they tried to frame the brother at one point. They coerced him into confessing that he killed
They,
his brother.
and that's kind of what got him off.
Yeah, because they were like, well, we no one knows, because
Mhm,
his IQ is so low. We don't know if he's just saying it to agree with you because he thinks that that's what you want to hear, and he's of
mhm.
the people pleasing disposition, so he will say
Yeah,
anything you tell him to. He'll recite the recipe for ice cream if you asked him to, because he thinks that's what you want to hear. Um, so they basically took in the fact that it's it got dropped because it couldn't be held as a true confession.
yeah.
That
Which
that is still available if anybody wants to go and watch it. And I have seen it a long time ago. I've seen a lot of true crime guys doing this story as well. So it is worth, if you hear a story about it, listening to it. It is incredibly interesting. But I mean, I'm not sure how far to go into it. So I'm really trying to just give the
I,
summary of such story.
I don't know what's going on with me today. I've had that coughing fit, and now I'm trying to sneeze. What is happening? It's like everything's like we've just been talking for ages beforehand and nothing happened. And the minute I press record, God damn it. The second one is something that I had to read several times to make sure that I had to like go into the links on names.
Yeah.
How's Charlie Chaplin? How the fucking Charlie Chaplin be in any way in like he has his own history,
Yep.
and it had nothing to do with this, or did it? And I was like, holy shit, no. It's to do with an experience that he had while he was touring in the UK. And he stayed at it was a theatre he was touring, and he stayed at one of the I want to say stagehands, like someone who worked in the theatre, and he stayed at their house, and he was taken upstairs to meet their son. And when the son was introduced, he was pulled out from under the bed. The son was a quadriplegic amputee, and I wrote this down, but I don't particularly want to say what IMDb described him as.
Yeah, it's not nice, is it?
I'm going to say it because it is written on IMDb.
Not Sammy's words. Let's make this very clear. This is not Sammy's words.
He flopped around while he was dancing.
Yes.
I hated the fact they used the word flopped.
It doesn't sound right, does it?
No, I've nearly punctured a hole in me anxiety thing. I
It's
know, I don't, it makes my skin crawl. Um Apparently he said it's written in Charlie Chaplin's autobiography.
yeah.
This whole experience obviously touched something, like for him to remember it. There was a bit more to the story, I'm not gonna lie, couldn't read it.
Yeah, the bit more to it was basically that he would dance for the family, as he would be their like main
Other like entertainment.
entertainment. Yeah.
Ah.
And he would do it if they just had to ask him, and he'd do it, be so pleased to be part of the family and not in his drawer or under the bed or wherever they kept him. Because there's some that say he was kept in a cupboard, others say he was under the bed, and it's like, well, bugger me, either or of them are both as horrific as the other. So,
Mm. Well, you can see where this episode got a lot of influence from. It is a huge homage to Texas Chainsaw and The Hills Have Eyes.
yes,
Tobe Hooper especially. Tobe or Toby? Tobe.
Toby.
Toby.
I've
Toby.
always said Toby, but I could be wrong.
I could be wrong because it's got an E on there. If it didn't have an E on there, then you can't silence that E, can you?
No, not that I'm
No.
aware of.
Mr. Hooper. Yeah, it is a massive homage to him and what he did in his movies. I have other stuff written down. Then I've done it again where I've wrote so small I can't read my own writing.
Well, I do know that this was the only episode to have carried a TVMA warning,
Yeah.
which is in America. It's something to do with the Nielsen rating. No, the Nielsen rating separate, but this is the warning that goes out at the beginning of an episode. If you go to America and you wake up in the morning and put telly on, you'll be watching horror movies like Halloween first thing in the
Yeah.
morning. Up now in the UK, you don't do that. The only way you do that is by sticking on a streaming platform. On normal terrestrial television, you will never have Halloween playing at like 8 o'clock in the morning.
No.
Even when they edit all the good bits, well, I say the good bits, they edit the swearing out and then they leave the rest in. But they always come with a TVMA warning before you sit down and watch it. And it was the first ever episode of X-Files to have viewer discretion advised. So they'd given you the warning
Oh.
before you went in. So you thought to yourself, okay, I'm definitely in for something a bit different here. The Nielsen rating, though, was the way that they worked out how many people were watching the episode.
Ah.
And this episode garnered an 11.9 with a 21% share. Now that means that 11.9% of all television equipped houses in the whole of the US watched this episode when it aired, which
Ooh.
equated to, for TV, for one episode, 18.85 million people for this episode tuned in for this and watched it.
What?
For a TV episode, it's unheard of now because people don't watch telly no more. Because
And this was something of the time like that had not been touched on television. You'd had your likes of Texas Chainsaw on, bearing in mind that was fucking banned for ages.
it was about 20
And
years before, wasn't it? Roughly, give or take.
yeah.
So yeah.
And it was banned for a long time. So to know that something along those styles was going to be on television, and not just television, the X-Files
Yeah.
television. So that is fucking amazing. That is a crazy number.
It really was. I had to keep checking it. That's when I went back because Mike will be really pleased with me because Mike says to me I need to check. You know, he checks everything 3 or 4 times. So it's trying to stick in my head to check certain things 3 or 4 times now. But
Is this the lovely Michael?
it is. Mike is the voice inside my head when I'm looking at facts going,
Hey, I always make sure I've double checked things because I know Mike's listening.
I was like, So yes, I have done my due diligence here. I have.
Mike, she got the numbers down. We promise it's right. It's accurate. The makeup artist in this TV episode, holy shit, the bed when I saw the name Jeff Redknapp.
Yeah.
I was like, what? No. If no one's familiar with the work of Jeff Redknapp, you will be very shortly in cinemas coming to you because he's just done Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yes.
But his back,
many other things in his career, but yeah.
he did Afterlife, Ghostbusters. That's one I didn't actually know. He also did Prey.
Oh, really?
Predator.
I didn't know he did Prey, yeah.
Yeah, and the back catalogue of this man is absolutely insane. I feel like he could be a contender for a man behind the makeup because his back catalogue is massive. So yeah, Jeff Redknapp. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, that's
a big name.
He's Emmy nominated as well, Jeff.
Yes.
But he was responsible for the prosthetics basically in this. Now,
oh yeah, when I talk about makeup, I am not just talking about making Gillian Anderson look beautiful. I'm talking about the prosthetics used on the brothers, which to me is some of the scariest shit that I have seen, and the mother as well. Like that was impressive.
It really was. The Peacock family is who this episode centers around. Who are technically the same as the family I just described in My Brother's Keepers. They are the family that are on the outskirts that no one socialized with, that everybody's well aware of, but they don't go near. It's
let's do it. Let's get into the episode.
we're gonna go there.
We're gonna go there.
Okay.
We're gonna jump into the episode because the opening scene really sets you. Bear in mind, I watched this on my 75-inch telly.
Yeah.
There's no fucking escaping any of this.
Full on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what kind of impressed us with the makeup, just to go back to it for a second, because on my telly, you can fucking see everything.
Yeah.
I could not see a line out of place, a hair out of place. Everything it just looked pristine.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you've done a fucking fantastic job on that.
Yeah.
But the opening episode, the opening of the episode. So I've wrote notes down as the episode's gone along just to make sure I keep myself on track. And the first thing that I wrote in my notes, why are they using a fork in childbirth?
Because it's all they had.
What the fuck are they going to do with that fork?
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, there's gonna be.
opens,
I feel like there's gonna be a lot of yeps.
yeah. Yeah. It opens with the screams of a woman in labour.
Yeah.
And you don't see any faces. You don't see
No, you don't.
anything.
You see nothing.
It's basically shadows and outlines. And the woman gives birth, and you hear the baby crying, and then you hear her say something along the lines of "take the baby out" or something. I can't remember what her exact words were, but it's something along those lines.
Couldn't hear her over the inner monologue in my head of a high pitched scream
Yeah.
to drown out baby crying.
Yeah.
I don't do baby crying.
Yeah.
It either does one or two things to me. It either makes me very uncomfortable or really fucking annoyed.
Well,
And this one, I was uncomfortable.
Yeah, this is why they had to tone it down. There was the initial scream that happened, and originally the writers had written it that the baby was screaming right up until, but the producers and executives at the studio said, "Look, no, that's sick. We're not having that. It stops there."
Yeah, I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, they said it's too much taking it right up until that point. As far as we're concerned, the baby stops screaming after its initial scream, after it's been born. And then as the audience member, I presumed the baby was stillborn or the baby had died just after it screamed or something. You don't really know.
I'm kind of happy in the in my own naive thinking that something happened on the way up to where they were going, and the baby died naturally. I want to believe wholeheartedly that is what happened,
because they walk the three men that were in the room helping her deliver the baby basically
with a fork
walk the baby out to this piece of land, and it flips from the baby's point of view, which is very, like, you don't think of it at the time when you're watching it, because when you're an avid horror fan, with today's eyes on, you just go, but then when you sit back and think about it, you're like, whew, that was a lot,
Yeah. I wrote down opening scene, uncomfortable noises, baby crying, and it's so much for the senses to take in as you are walking with these men to clearly going to fucking bury this baby. It's uneasy. It's just so uneasy, and I instantly, the minute this episode came on, I knew I'd seen it before. So instantly I'm like, okay, Sam, you've seen this. It's okay. You can handle this. I didn't feel that in that opening scene when when it started to move on. I'm like, oh, I don't think you can handle this.
Yeah, basically you see it from the point of view of the baby. So you see them putting dirt on top of the baby. So all of a sudden your brain clicks and you go, oh shit, that baby was still alive. If it's watching. Then put the dirt on it. I mean, bear in mind this is in the middle of a thunder, lightning, rainstorm as well.
Of course, like you couldn't have it any other way.
Because scary extra sounds and all that sort of stuff.
How to make you feel even more uncomfortable? We'll add thunder.
Yeah. And then it quickly cuts to either the credits or the boys playing baseball. I can't remember what happens.
It goes and then you've got, no. Let's rewind that song because it is the boys playing baseball. And that when they threw that ball heading into that house, that ball's staying there
Yeah,
because I ain't going to fucking get it.
no way, Pedro.
No.
There would always be that one kid that would, though, but it wouldn't have been me. Let's put
No.
it that way. It would never have been
No.
me.
And I was so pleased when someone said, "We've got another one here." I'm like, "Oh, thank God for that." But the children, this kind of sets up one of the main themes of this episode is innocence.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So the boys, oh, poor Burns, even though I know it's not real. They fall upon the grave or something of something. 'Cause that's a lot of blood came from that.
Yes, and I can't figure out why, because you don't they don't allude to the fact that they did anything to the baby other than bury
No.
it. So I can only presume it was from all it because of the rain. The boys did say that when they were playing baseball, they said, well, just because the field was waterlogged, or that there was something to do with the place they normally play baseball, they couldn't play it there. That's why they come to this part of the ground. And they had the pitching plate, not the pitching
Yeah.
plate, the batting plate over where the baby was buried. So when the lad was digging his toes in to get his purchase to swing his bat, blood was coming through the dirt, and then you see it, and then it gets like your brain goes, oh man.
Oh shit. Oh, Morbid Sammy's gonna come out right now. When you die, you turn into a lot of mush.
Yeah.
Your insides, especially.
Yeah.
But later on, so that in my head is what's playing in, is that it's so badly decomposed, it is just mush and liquid and whatever else. But later on, you do get to see said
Yeah.
baby, and it's not that at all.
It's about
It's
10 hours after it happened.
yeah, so I don't know if that's just to kind of allude to the fact for the boys, for us as viewers to be like, shit.
Yeah, because you see a
And
baby hand come out of the dirt when this kid's
yeah,
accidentally uncovering, um, the blood's coming up, and then he's dug his foot in, and then you see like baby Evil Dead, or the baby scene, baby version of the scene from Carrie. The hand comes out of the floor, and it's like, oh wow, that's. I know it's
oh,
not real, but like you're like, woof, that's
oh.
something.
And also doesn't represent what we see later on, but I'm just saying. Then the opening credits happening.
Yes.
Then the I'm breaking the tension up after the baby hand. Then you've got Mulder and Scully.
Yes.
Were they there for that reason, or were they there for something else?
From what I could gather, they got called in because the baby wasn't. They didn't know what the baby was.
Right, okay, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I actually wrote down, I can't remember what the sheriff's name was, but I certainly wrote down the deputy's name because I've wrote Deputy Barnaby. Ha! Deputy
Body
Barnaby.
5.
Yeah.
It's pasta. Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember I got his name written down. But they're introduced to the sheriff and the deputy, who paint you a picture of the hometown that they live in. This is it's a quiet place for local people. And we don't lock our doors. I don't carry a gun. We are so, we're crime free. But we have this really creepy family living on the land. Yeah. But yeah, he kind of paints a picture of this town, this wholesome, sweet town where little boys just play baseball and they don't find babies on their baseball field. And then you get to see the baby.
He takes them back to the police station, and
they don't even have a morgue.
No, the baby is kept next to a can of Spam. I don't know if you noticed that.
I did
the baby
not.
Was in the fridge with Spam. Yes.
Oh, poor baby. Yeah, they don't even have this is how wholesome they are. They don't even have a morgue. Scully is just put in a cupboard.
Yeah, a toilet cupboard.
Yeah, get in the cupboard, pet. And you get to see for the first time what it is that was found. And this is what confuses me. That baby's hand was white. The
Yeah.
baby that you're looking at there don't have no hands to be able to pop out of the ground.
It just looked like, this is going to sound a graphic warning. You can skip ahead 15 seconds if you're listening, if you want to, but I'm going to be a bit graphic
Can
here.
I?
It looked like a full-term fetus, not
Yeah.
a baby. Like a baby, a fully formed full-term baby of 40 weeks has arms and legs and a head and a torso.
Mhm,
This looked like a fetus, like from the first stages of pregnancy,
mhm.
that was slightly mutated, for want of a better word.
Yeah.
And welcome back.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And Scully puts it there, and then she does say the cause of death is hand over the mouth. So it
Yeah.
was suffocation.
So
So while they were,
she found like mud in the lungs
yeah,
and
so they breathed it
trachea.
in
Yeah.
after. So when they were walking to said grave, they were doing that as they were walking, hence
Yeah.
the reason why the baby stopped crying. Oh no, yeah, that's the baby out the way with. Don't see that again.
No more babies.
No more babies. They're gone.
Well,
But Mulder and Scully then start to find out about this family, and this is where they have one of the light-hearted conversations of this whole episode. Is when they're talking about their own families, and
yeah.
she's like, "Yeah, I was raised like absolutely fine. Like, how was the Fox household?" And he's like, "Well, my sister got kidnapped in the '70s, so it was a barrel of laughs."
Did you notice him hitting on her? It was really bizarre. I know that the whole trope through the entire TV series, I'm not talking about the movies here because we know what happens in the movies because they're later on, but in the whole TV series, it's the will they, won't they get together thing. That was
Mhm.
the whole trope thing. But he picked his fucking times. He was rubbing her back during this story when she was talking about babies dying, and I was like, choose your time, Fox.
Yeah,
It's just
choose your moments. It's when he turned around and he says, "I never really saw you as a mother." And it's like, really? Do you want to bring this up after what she has just had to witness? Really? You fucking idiot.
cracking.
So where are we at? We've had, oh yes, so
They, yeah, they
yeah,
realize she says that the baby has the traits of a certain amount of mutations.
it was
That, yeah,
every abnormality known to medical history this
and
baby had.
she knew in her head that that could only stem from very few things, and
Mhm.
incest being one of them. So
Yep.
that leads us back to the peacocks again.
Do you know, I had absolutely no problem in my line of talking about Jamie and Cersei Lannister, but this,
This is,
this is different.
yeah, I mean, this
This is,
family did, I don't know if you heard this, but there was a little section where they explained what this family had, and
mm,
it was called CIPD, which when I looked at it was called chronic inflammatory demyelinating polyneuropathy, which means they can't feel pain like we can because of the disease.
oh, that makes so much sense now.
Because of
Because,
the disease mutating their body, it the neuropathy means
yeah,
it rewires the brain in such a way.
that
So
makes so much sense to a later scene.
yeah,
Um, this is where we're in the family home,
yeah,
and
they knock on the door and try and go in, don't they?
what the fuck were they doing with their trousers down?
Um, backtrack a little bit. This is where they go in, and she says to him, "Oh, you can't go in because you haven't got probable cause." And then he sees there's bloody scissors on the table, so he goes in and
Yeah.
gets the bloody scissors, takes them, and then they look around the house. Now, this, in my opinion, is one of the best cinematographer shots that I think the whole of, like, we're talking from episode 1 to episode 750,000. This is the best shot the cinematographer did, and it is the shot of just the eyes in the light under the bed.
It's so Exorcist. It's
But it's creepy, but not in
mm,
the same vein as like, oh, it's a demon, or oh, it's a ghost.
yeah,
Like,
that's a
fuck,
person.
there's someone under there. You know it's a person. And it's just like the way they lit that, but blacked everything else out. You were just like, and the eyes looked really frightened and big, and like they weren't like, it was like they were scared. So all of a sudden you're intrigued. You're like, oh shit, it's someone's being held captive, or you think to yourself, oh right, okay, this is where this is going. Hills have eyes, you know, they've captured the family and they're going to take them to use as breeding or whatever, you know. That's my head went anyway. So, and then they realize there's nobody. Well, Fox and I was going to call her Fox and Mulder. No, Scully and Mulder were.
I was just going to see how you were going to get out of that one.
Nope. They were walking around and they don't find anything other than scissors and a lot of blood on the kitchen table and a lot of stink and stank and darkness. So then they leave.
And grimness. Let's not forget grim.
Yeah, so then they leave, and then that's when you get the shot. But then I think it does move to that scene you've just talked about.
It's almost ritual, and there's a word that got brought up in last night's podcast, and I feel like it's quite fitting for this because I don't know why they dropped their trousers
and
did nothing.
No,
and then pulled them back up again
because she says something. The female voice says something there, like everything's good, or that's you're all acceptable, or she like gives them a
pep talk.
Yeah, but it comes with a side of compliment.
So there's one thing I have about that scene then is I couldn't distinguish between the men talking and her talking.
Yeah.
I couldn't quite tell because we don't get to see them at all. So it's really difficult for me to be, I found it very difficult to place who was speaking because up until you've just said she was speaking there, I thought it was one of the brothers.
Yeah. It was the female that was speaking.
It makes more sense now.
And at this point, you still don't know who the female is, if it's another person, there's just how many people there are in this family. You're not sure, but you see 3 sets of legs, 3 pairs of legs. So at least
oh, she's at it now.
So at least you know there's 3 men at that point.
Take a big drink. This episode will be called Home. Cough, Home.
That's better. Yeah, and then she sort of sends them off on their way, and you see them all getting into this Cadillac. And the most disgusting shot for me of that, when they were trying to get the car sorted, is when he was hoofing the petrol, and you see this one tooth overlapping the hose, and he's sucking it out of the car just to put it back in. Oh no!
Can't open my eyes.
Why does that get me out, and half of the other stuff doesn't? I don't know. It was all the gasoline pouring out of his mouth at the same time, and it was just like, oh.
It was it was the Flintstones clubs that got me when they put the baton clubs into the back seat of the car, and I thought, where's Fred Flintstone at? Because they looked ridiculously cartoonish.
Which I don't get, and I'll bring up why I don't get that later on in a bit. But they're sent forth to the sheriff's house by the female voice, but we don't get to know that's where they're going. They play this game with you, which is another trope where you're not entirely sure where they're going, but you know, they show like Fox's place, they show the sheriff's place, they show another place, so you're not really sure where they're heading. But at that point they're playing the Wonderful Wonderful song by Johnny Mathis.
Yeah, fun fact about that's not Johnny Mathis singing it, because Johnny Mathis got the script for this and went,
fuck
no, we're using my fucking song. So this is a cover by another artist of the Wonderful Wonderful song, which now is stuck in my head for eternity.
I think his name was Kenny James. I've got that written down, so I think that's who it was.
I didn't write his name down. I just wrote he wouldn't fucking let them use it.
He sounded so much like Johnny Mathis. They wanted to keep the whole perkiness of the song to juxtapose against the horrific thing they're about to do. So
and this bit is pretty fucking horrific. This kind of puts this cements it so much in horror that you're shocked it's a TV episode, that it isn't actually a horror movie, because this kill is horrific.
And this is they're just before this kill, you get to know the sheriff and his wife, and
Yeah.
it's not a very long little bit. It's probably only a
No.
couple of minutes, but you get to know that, they're still. He knows there's something fucky afoot. He can feel it in his waters. He's not sure what it is, but he knows there's something off.
Not
And
enough for him to lock his door, though.
and she's convincing him, come to bed, and off they trot to bed, and the door shuts and it's still on the latch. And I was just like, it's you they're coming for. It's you because you didn't lock your door. And
Yes.
you see the policeman lying in bed, and you hear Wonderful, Wonderful playing louder and louder as they pull up in their big Cadillac.
And he
Which,
knew.
coincidentally, Cadillac wrote a thank you letter.
Really?
To the producers in the studio for using one of their cars. So,
Hey,
but true.
that is who doesn't love a Cadillac? Elvis did. This kill is horrific, but the scene just before it happens really, really annoyed us. He knew something was afoot.
Yeah.
He knew that with the fact that they had 2 FBI agents in the area, there's some pretty serious shit going on. He saw that baby. He has to, and he then turns around and goes, I'm gonna get the gun.
Yes.
Fucker, you should have had that gun under your pillow from day dot.
It should have been in your bedside cabinet. If you know you got that gut feeling, you don't have to act on it, but you can prepare yourself for it. And being the sheriff, being the person that everybody would expect to have his shit on at all times, he's the person you ring when you're in trouble. Fair enough, he hasn't been in a position to ever have to be at that point, but he knew something was different about this, because he kept saying, he even said to Dana and Fox at the beginning, he said, things will never be the same. This is never going to be the same here now. We've brought the outside world in,
Yeah. And this is, again, the running theme of innocence.
Yeah.
So the innocence of now the sheriff losing this idyllic hometown that he's probably built and created himself, and all power to him. Yeah. But sometimes it is just not how it goes down, and you should have your gun a bit more to hand. I'm just saying, given what happens next.
More importantly, lock your fucking door.
Exactly.
I don't care how safe it is outside, wherever you live, lock your doors, lock your downstairs windows. If you want to have your window open when you're upstairs and you're in bed, that's fine. Well, but my advice to you is lock your bloody front door and your back door.
I don't know if this is worse, because I live in a bungalow, so I'm all on the ground.
Yeah.
So if someone's at my window,
yeah,
they're on the ground outside the house. It's not like an upstairs. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I can freak myself out a lot. So there's a lot of times it's the last thing Anne says to us, just as I'm about to sit down to go to bed. He'll go, front door's locked, and he knows I am going to go and check, even if they are, because I have to know. But yeah, if someone's coming past that window, they're walking out the outside in the front of the house. Oh, and then it happens.
Yeah, the wife gets under the bed pretty sharpish because he tells her to. The sheriff tells her to get under the bed.
What I loved is she is probably one of the very few who actually listened and done as she told.
Yep, she didn't put up a fight. She didn't say, why? Oh, no, I'll come with you. She went, yep, and got straight to bed.
Loved it.
And
didn't like the outcome.
They then proceed to beat the sheriff to death with their Barney Rubble
Billy
clubs, yeah. And what a horrific way to go. There's 3 of them and 1 sheriff who didn't even have his gun at that point, because they state later that he didn't even have any rounds in it, or he didn't even get to the gun in time. I can't remember. It was one of those.
He definitely didn't get to it in time. He didn't even have a chance to. But in hindsight, with the ending, he probably wouldn't have done much anyway. So the inevitable was going to happen. However, it is gruesome. It is bloody.
Yep.
It is the noises, the thumping. You heard every hit.
It's very primal.
Yes, and that's the word.
And that's the thing about it. When you actually eventually see the makeup, which is, you sort of get alluded to it here as well.
At this point, you've kind of seen something.
Yeah, their shadows at least have like a caveman-esque kind of look
Yes.
to them. They're all very big, brow heavy, like
Very.
cavemen
Yeah.
were. And that's where my brain went when I saw, the shadows and the billy clubs. I was thinking, they're acting like cavemen, like primal cavemen, and for them, this man's bad. Let's kill him, beat him to death.
He tried to
But
get her now
then,
home.
and then they realize the wife's under the bed as well.
They don't even hesitate.
No.
There is no creeping about on this. This is no waiting. This is whoosh, and it's done. Thankfully, we don't get to see the wife's death.
No.
Which I'm very pleased about, because we didn't get to see the sheriff's death, but you didn't have to.
No.
The amount of blood, the noise, like I said earlier, the thumping, that was enough.
It was the wife, when she was under the bed, she was watching the whole thing because she couldn't get away from it. That's the only way she could look to make sure that they weren't coming for her. And the blood flooded under the bed, and it started to cover her as well, but she had to stay deathly still or quiet, or
she did
she
again.
did so well.
She did so well.
But the sheriff, the guy who played the sheriff, actually said to the production people, is this like a normal episode? Because he'd never seen any of the X-Files at that point. And he said, is this like a normal episode? And they were like, this is the worst ever episode we have filmed up to date.
If this was a normal episode, you'd be up on a spaceship by now.
In 1973 with Fox's sister, yeah.
So the brothers leave, playing that god awful fucking song again.
In the Cadillac, and off they go back home.
Wonderful, wonderful. This is where now Mulder and Scully finally go to the house.
Yeah.
Properly.
A proper look, yeah.
So they know about the sheriff's death at this point. All fingers are pointed to the brothers.
And it's daytime at this point, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Which, hey.
It was their comms situation, right? And it made me laugh. And I don't know why, because I'm sure that was height of technology at the time. Oh. But they had these weird, like, head walkie-talkies on. Like if you go into a supermarket and the cashiers have the little mouthpiece bit.
Yeah, like my work headset.
It looked like that, but really rudimentary, like a straw in an old-fashioned pair of headphones.
Yes, I totally get what you mean.
And all three of them had them on.
That's right, because you've got Deputy Barney.
Yep.
Is it Barney?
It's Barney Parson, and they called him Parsons. Yeah.
Not Barney. Should have called him Deputy Barney. Sounds better. But yeah, so the three of them are there, and Deputy Barney.
Poor guy.
Deputy Barney. Is this before or after the? No, this happens pretty much straight away. Deputy Barney gets the. Is it a trap? Because it is, isn't it? Because that's when they realize everything's all trapped.
Yeah, the family basically knew. The boys were told that the Fox and Dana had managed to come into the house already. Mm-hmm. So somewhere between when they killed the sheriff and these guys turn up, they booby trapped the house. And Parsons, being all revenge mode, which he was.
Yeah, he was.
Breaks into the door, and you see. Now, this is where I have the problem with the billy clubs. Because if they can make booby traps like this, why are they... Basically, he gets decapitated.
Yeah, and Scully is so fucking nonchalant about it. Barney's down.
I did actually write that in my notes. I put, why did they not give a shit about Pastor being decapitated?
Yeah, it was like, Barney's dead.
Oh, well, never mind.
Anyways, there's some pigs over there.
They didn't even flinch. It wasn't even like, you didn't see it on their face at all. It was like, and let's keep going then. That's perfectly acceptable. This happens every day. Never mind. Okay, lovely.
R.I.P. Barney. Let's go. The pigs, that was so fucking cute. I was like, please don't let anything happen to the pigs. But they use that as a distraction in order to get into the house because the brothers are heading back, or they
Yes, you
feel
see
like they're
one of
heading
them.
back.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
see one of them come around the corner or something.
Yeah, so they use that as a distraction and they do actually get into the house, which is booby trapped. Oh, but they make the discovery, don't they?
Yeah, because the brother comes out to wash his hands because obviously he'd found they beat the body again of Pastor, didn't they, with the clubs afterwards?
Yeah, they he went
They
to
were
go and wash
covered.
his hands, and then he
Yeah.
noticed that the pigs were out, and he was like, "Gotta get the pigs in."
Or
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of conversation,
yeah,
but to them, they knew they had to go and get the pigs in, and Mulder and Scully get into the house, and oh, do they make a discovery and a half?
yes, they do.
The person under the bed,
Oh,
who, when she's pulled out, so the big reveal is the look of her face,
yeah.
and to put it in I don't know how to put it in the nicest way, because she is very help me, words,
Deformed,
yeah, disfigured,
disfigured. Yeah,
disfigured. I would
disfigured.
just want to use my words very carefully.
Yeah,
Um, and it's a bit of a shock that this person is under the bed, looking the way that she does, and they try to get her out. She screams bloody murder when
bearing
they
in
are
mind
trying to get her out.
she's also a quadruple amputee.
That's right, yes, she is. And she screams bloody murder. They reassure her, we're the good guys, we're going to get you out. Huh.
Yeah,
What they don't realise is she don't want to fucking get out.
no, because they mentioned prior in all this that there's only three lads that live there. That's all they say. So this is why it got a bit like, oh, what? Because there's a female voice. But you think to yourself, all right, that will come out in the end. But they say that the boy's parents died in a car crash.
That's it.
Yeah,
Well, she says that no, because she is the parent.
exactly. But that's what they say. They say, oh no,
Oh, that's
our
right. Oh,
parents.
right. Okay, that's what the deputy. Sorry, my mis. Yes, the
Yeah,
deputy said at the beginning but we just assumed they buried their own because
yeah,
of the way that they are. And
yeah,
obviously, if they knew they died in the accident, there's no formal investigation, and American funeral systems are very different to ours,
yeah.
so they would have had the right to bury them on their land.
Yes,
So it's completely and utterly normal. Huh,
yes. You
not the
presume
case.
it's just the
Yeah,
boys, you
yeah.
know.
Well, and you and Mulder and Scully obviously presume that this woman is being held against her will.
Correct.
What Scully soon then realizes is that she's not, she's their mother.
Yes.
And the mother then goes on to explain the story of the accident, that her husband did die in it. And I don't know how this plays out, but I'm going to tell you the relationship between all of them. So there is the mother,
Yep.
and there is Edmund, the older brother.
Yes. This is where I was listening and I was like, oof, right, okay. That's
So hold on to your hats, people.
yeah,
Edmund and mother are in a sexual relationship
yes,
and have had many children
yes,
along the way. The two that made it are the two brothers who
yeah,
you see there.
yeah.
But Edmund is also her son,
So Edmund and the boys, he is their brother daddy.
daddy brother.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and
That's the family tree of the Peacocks as it stands right
yes,
now.
and they keep trying to procreate to further the line,
Yeah.
but the babies just aren't viable.
So much. The likelihood is this has probably been going on way past them too, and because that is a lot of generational
Yeah.
defects, and
Yes.
the babies that they are now having don't they have nearly every one of them, given the baby that we saw at the beginning, and Scully does explain every single one of the defects that she sees. um
And the thing that got me was that you find out obviously that the mother was the one giving birth at the beginning to the child.
yeah,
Now, the bit that got me was I'm sure it was said or I read it in something, but they couldn't determine the parentage of the child because they think all three fathers were the parent, all three brothers were the father because of them taking turns on the mother. And it became a soup of DNA, which created the baby. And yeah,
I've not heard that in humans, but bearing in mind I'm not going looking for that information. But it
fair
does
enough.
happen in cats.
Yeah,
Cats, female cats can have multiple partners in one night and can have different daddies for
yeah,
all their babies. And this is why you get in a litter. Some are different colored and some are not. Some are will resemble the mother. So I've never really heard it in humans, but it makes for the amount of defects, this would have to have gone on for generations
yeah,
because it's this she nearly named every single defect a person could actually have, and it would make sense that if it was all three, because then it's
yeah.
yeah. I'm not explaining myself very well, but I know what I mean.
Get what you're saying. I mean, the thing about this was as well, when it dawns on you that it's the mother, brother, son combination, you sit there and you're like, oh God, that's a lot of work to. I think in their mindset, it was perfectly normal thing to
Yeah.
do because they were just trying to further the family. You know, it was no more than for the transaction of a baby comes and
We
it's
can
another
keep
member of the family.
we can
Um,
keep we can keep this cycle going forever.
yeah,
But
because
you
the knowledge isn't there to the fact that it's not viable with that many gene
Mhm.
familiarities or you know
Exactly.
it just won't work. So
No, so
at this point the two brothers then get in a fight with Scully and Mulder. The two
yeah, and
younger
this is the information on their superhuman strength would
yes,
have been, because I just kept thinking to myself, my goodness, they're very strong people. But it
yeah,
makes total sense with what they have
yeah,
as to how they managed to survive. Good. And I think Scully realizes it halfway
yeah,
when he's been shot so many times, and she's like, this is doing nothing.
yeah, because he's got no idea about the danger his body's in because he
Mm-mm.
can't feel it. But there is a line that the mother says before she drags herself back onto the bed, which she does after
Mm-hmm.
they finish talking to her. She says this one thing, and she says, "You'll never know the pride and love when a boy would do anything for his mother." And I just went, "Ooh!" It made me, oh, it really, out of all the things that were said, and I know they allude to a lot of shit in this episode,
Mm,
but that,
that
that was just like,
that was grim as
that's
fuck.
psycho vibes. We're talking Norman Bates shit there, you know. So I loved
Mm,
the fact that it felt like a little nod
nod.
to that, but it was
Grim?
yeah, that was it gave me more than the ick that did. I was just like,
Yeah.
oh, that's something. Um,
The fight scene that is occurring with Mulder and Scully is fucking epic, by the way. Like,
yeah,
there's a lot of punches being thrown. Scully, like, fucking layers down some shit. But she manages to get away and set one of the traps off, which gets one of the brothers. And I can't remember how the other one well, did he get shot in the head?
I think so. I think it
He
was
must have,
like
because he
that.
wasn't
Yeah,
going down any other way.
no,
So they must have gone for the head, but two brothers down.
yeah,
One brother, not even there.
nope,
And then when they go back to under the bed, neither is mother.
nope.
Brother took mother and took the Cadillac and fucked off listening to Johnny Mathers along the way.
Yep, he put her in the boot first. Don't forget that.
I
I
mean, where
just
else was she gonna go?
in the front seat like another human being.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Well,
was just like, oh, that's
yeah.
unnecessary, but okay.
Well, they come to the Mulder and Scully come to the realization that they're gone. And
Yeah,
to be honest, there's probably nothing that they can do now that they've gone.
no,
Because we break away from them very quickly, and you're in the Cadillac with Edmund and Mother, And the greatest line of the whole episode, there's nothing like family.
Ugh.
And they discuss what their plan is next.
We'll move somewhere else and we'll start
And we'll
again. I
start
think.
again.
Yeah.
How fucking simple for you to just start again.
Life must be, I don't know. I mean, sometimes if you look at it from the point of view of this family being the way they are, they
Mhm.
don't have the outside influence. I know this was like 1996, but like they wouldn't have had mobile phones, televisions. They wouldn't have had an internal like landline. They wouldn't have had friends. They wouldn't have had social pressures. They wouldn't have had to worry about going doing the family shop. There's none of these normal, like to pay bills. There's none of these normal
Mundane
pressures on
life
the table
things. Mhm.
because they can't. I think at one point prior to the accident, maybe the mother did look like she was compos mentis out the most of them, out of all of them. The
The
mother
photograph that was shown of mother and father,
yeah,
it looked like a normal family photo
except
to
for the
the
yeah,
yeah, but it wasn't. She was dressed in modern day clothes.
yeah,
She looked like her hair was, she looked presentable. It just looked like a normal family photo.
yeah,
So
yeah,
there's obviously something triggered in that accident that is this is their now way of life.
yeah, 100%.
But where like we as us will never be able to comprehend
Yeah,
where the thought process is like, right, okay, this is what's going to happen, sons.
yeah.
Guess what?
And it does turn out, well, I personally got the impression that it was the mother's idea all
I
along.
feel like yeah, because Edmund is not in the nicest way possible, is not smart enough
No,
to come up with something like that. And in her head, she just wants to start again. She's trying to create the family that she feels like she lost the day she lost her husband.
yes,
That's how I saw it.
yeah,
But
100%.
the the how do I say this? I am trying to be so fucking careful.
It is kind of difficult, people,
The
I'm not gonna lie.
It's only because do you know what? I'm just going to say the word I want to say. Inbreeding.
Yeah,
So because of how inbred that they looked,
yeah,
it feels like it went on longer than what it probably has done.
yeah, because they didn't age the boys. As far as I'm aware,
No.
they didn't at any point say, oh, they were 15, they were
Yeah.
32. There's no allusion to how old they were, just
Mhm.
that the older son was alive when the mother and the father had the crash. I don't think they mentioned the other two brothers at that point being alive. So I don't know whether I missed that and they
I
were.
I don't think that, well, they can't have been, unless this with Edmund has gone on when the father was alive. But to me, it just felt like their life was pretty standard
Yeah.
up until that point.
Because
Because
if she
then
had,
the sheriff knew about them up until that point.
yeah, because if she had a husband, why would she need to procreate with a son?
Exactly.
So it feels like this all kicked off after the loss of her husband. Um, I mean, in psychological, in psychological terms, there's a you could have a field day with this one.
Yeah.
It is, it is I think it's the fact that it's loosely based on actual things. So it's not
Yeah.
just plucked out of thin air and made as a story. In the back of your head, the whole time through this, you're going, I'm sure there's places like this. People have done things like this.
I
People
did the
exist.
I wrote the notes as I was watching.
Yeah.
And then I'm like reading the story of the Ward family and what happened with Chaplin, and I'm like, oh, this takes on a whole new meaning now.
Yep.
This is not just a story they have went, we'll take that out of, modern day horror or, 70s horror. Well, It's not. This is stuff that happened, and this is probably the most uncomfortable me and Dan have ever been on talking about an episode. But I have very much looked forward to talking about this because there is a lot of themes in it that run alongside
Yeah.
your cinematic horror, and you're getting it on a fucking X-Files television program like episode.
And on a lot of the countdowns of people's favorite X-Files episodes, this is always number one.
As a horror fan, and a very big fan of Texas Chainsaw, I can totally understand that. I have not actually ever seen The Hills Have Eyes. I kind of have been put off by it over the years.
Yeah, it depends which one you want to watch. If you watch the original, hold on to your butt. But if you watch the remake, it's, in my opinion, it's still got the same vibe about it, but I feel like it's slightly toned down a bit.
Right. Well, it would have to be if
But
it was brought out like it was the early 2000s.
yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
can watch the Hills Have Eyes 1 and 2 that came out in the 2000s and not feel as uncomfortable as I do when I watch the original one. The original is it feels very visceral, low budgety, but I don't know the budget because I haven't looked it up. But
You're actually like, you're saying words to us that are like, yes, I want to watch this now.
you will, but that's the thing. We'll probably cover it at some point, to be honest with you.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like it is a staple in horror that should be talked about. But the themes in this is innocence.
Yeah.
Is innocence of the children at the beginning, the innocence of the sheriff, the innocence of the actual town itself, the kind of innocence of the brothers as well.
Yeah, they didn't know any better. They were just doing old.
No, they didn't. There's so much innocence lost within this one whole episode that it's almost heartbreaking if you really look at the pieces outside of the horrific story that you are listening to.
Yeah, I personally would give this out of 5 a 4.5 this episode.
I have to agree.
In the X-Files universe, not just in the whole wide world, but in the X-Files universe, for the sheer reason that it forces you to pay attention. And with it being so radically different from all the other episodes, I think it piques your interest more as well, because it's not about aliens. It's not about things that could be. It's about a thing that is.
Yeah.
And that
can be more scary than the actual aliens and ghost stories that they're telling you.
100% that, because it's real, it could actually happen.
Yeah.
Whereas aliens and ghosts and stuff like that, everybody's got their stance on it. Whereas people who are living in the backwaters and possibly living the life that the peacocks lived do exist.
Yeah.
These practices do exist.
But like I said earlier, there's a lot of heartbreak in this as well. It's just a really complex episode when you're going into it as a horror fan and like, fuck yeah, like this is going to be all messed up, and then there's so much like complexity to it that you're like, oh, you are going to make me think.
But the weirdest thing about this, right, because it was banned for three years in the US from ever being repeated at that point.
I genuinely don't know where we stood on the ban.
I don't know. I couldn't find anything about it being in the UK. I would presume they would have just shown it on reruns, because for some reason we seem to be less about certain things, but then really strict about others. So I don't know, but I would know I'd seen this episode, and I've only probably watched the series about 2 or 3 times in my lifetime, like from start to finish. I stopped at the Robert Patrick ones because I didn't really like those.
I've never watched a whole entire run in its entirety, even when it was on the telly. It is my mother's favorite TV program, where she has seen it multiple times, and the new ones and the films. She's very clued up, but I do remember one Easter. We always at Easter, I don't know if you were like this, but we got an egg and a book.
Right.
Always got a book. I like, my love of books has not just been over the last few years. It's been forever. And I got an X-Files episode season 1 and 2 explanation book. It was like a fucking Bible of X-Files episodes. And I used to have one on Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, and then I got this one on the X-Files, and they were my Bibles. They came with me everywhere. And it's like, if you want to talk about something, wait a minute, I'll just there it is. And I would be able to pull it straight up and be like, yep, I can talk about this now. This is where my whole know-it-all attitude comes from, is books like this.
Well, this is the thing. Nowadays, this is obviously being shown because guess where Dan found it? Disney Plus.
Disney Plus, all hailed it. It was just there as a normal episode. I was expecting to be like having to like code shit, and like
Yeah,
we weren't really sure if we were going to be able to find it.
Purely because rumblings of it, it's still, whilst you hear it's a banned episode, in your head you're thinking, Jesus, it's going to be one of those ones like the Sunny episodes that you say that you have to go to the back of Beyond on
to
YouTube
go and look.
find.
Yep. You got to
Which
look for them ones.
I was telling Rob about it, and he went, "We've got to find them.
You've got to find them." Because
So,
I'm telling you now, the minute you do, you'll be straight on the phone going, holy shit, how did they even get this on telly?
it's the weekend's job to find those episodes, but it's I just thought we're not going to find it, or it's going to be so hard to track down, or it's going to be one of those things where there's 10-minute segments on YouTube and you have to pay, you have to watch them all together. But no, it was surprisingly easy. So it just goes to show, in the best part of 28 years since it came out, how everybody's attitudes and everybody's tolerance level.
Unfortunately,
I don't really know how you would describe it. But
unfortunately, the world has seen worse in real life than this episode.
It's a sad thing, but it's true.
Well, I have no more on this episode, but I have to say, I thoroughly enjoyed just doing an episode of a TV series like this.
Yeah, 100%. I know that we've both said with anything we've posted to do with this coming up so far, it's engaged a lot of people, and they all know it. They all know the episode straight away. They're like, oh, that's the one with this, is it? And we're like, yeah. And they're like, oh, holy shit, I remember that episode. So hopefully, if anything, it's encouraged people to go and watch it.
Yeah, and we've gotten so much engagement for it. So I feel like this is something that could work in the future. Yeah. Maybe.
So I've got an idea. If anybody would like to suggest some episodes from any TV shows, and I'm not just talking about X-Files, but any TV shows you think that has a monster element or a severe horror element to it that you think we should cover, either stick it in the comments below or go on the socials for Monsters Up North podcast.
Yeah, go on to Instagram, TikTok. I mean, TikTok's not really that kind of engagement, but Instagram, come and join us on Instagram. If you can leave comments on the audios, by all means. I don't know if you can or not, but if you can, try it.
Down here, just let us know if there's something that you think we should cover in the TV sense of land, because this is new waters to us. We have got a plethora of movies to cover because I like spreadsheets.
Movies, people, genres, we have, and I'm not joking. And I put a post up on, I don't know if it was my social or on Bleeding Marvelouses, where I was like something along the lines of the spreadsheet queen, and I was like, yep, she's right here. She's here. She has it all worked out. And she even
I was gonna say TV shows is just something we're
dabbling, we're toying with. So if we get it one that I had actually a couple of suggestions made to us, but there were X-Files ones, and I don't particularly want to I don't want to come an X-Files podcast. But there was a few that was recommended to us, which we will keep in the in the pipeline for maybe later. But if there is anything other than the X-Files that has, like Dan said, the monster, the horror, the feel to it, let us know. I'm happy. We are happy to take on any suggestions. But if we don't get any, we've got fucking plenty to deal with.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. So, no.
And next week. Oh, I love that. So next week, I have no fucking idea on any of this. This is a Dan choice.
It's a choice.
It's a choice.
But it's a choice.
But the minute Dan told me the synopsis, I went, fuck yes. We're doing Motel Hell.
Yes.
Dan, give the people a little bit of background on Motel Hell and why they should listen to our episode.
I wasn't prepared for this, so please talk me through it while I bring it up.
I'm sorry, I really should have told you.
Talk about like hang me out to dry. It's a 1980 movie, the year I was born, so we're talking 44 years old now. It's just received a brand new Blu-ray release. And it is, I'll read the synopsis on IMDb for you just to make sure it's right. A seemingly friendly farmer and his sister kidnap unsuspecting travelers and bury them alive, using them to create the special meat they are very famous for. That's the synopsis, and that's where I'm leaving it.
That is next week's episode, but was it last week you read that to us and I went, fuck, yes, are we doing that? Or it is so League of Gentlemen that I can't fucking wait to dive into this. Even though I'm not a big, huge League of Gentlemen fan.
Yeah, Royston Vasey, yeah.
That's where I live.
Yeah, it's where I live.
No, we literally have a sign that says
welcome.
No, that would be so fucking funny. It says Shiny Row for local people.
Oh God.
Local traffic, local people.
Yes.
No fucker pays any attention to it.
I was going to say hello, Dave, but you can't do that now. It's been banned,
No,
isn't
you
it?
cannot. He is a character that is now forever gone.
Yeah.
Thank Christ, he used to scare the shit out of us.
I'm your wife now. Yeah, I chose this because we were thinking about doing a under the radar cult movie from the 70s, 80s. We like to mix it up a bit because obviously last week was Ghostface, which is spanned from 1990.
Was that last week?
Yeah.
Was it?
Was it? No.
It was not, my love. It was Plan 9 from Outer Space. How the fuck could you forget that?
Quite easily. Week before then was Ghostface. Last week was 1957's
very B movie.
Plan 9 Out of Space. This was 1990. Again, we went back to the 90s, but it's a TV episode, so we thought we'd mix it up and do a cult 80s, 70s, 80s movie, and we settled on this one. And I think Sammy's either going to punch me in the face after she's watched this, or she's going to love it. I'm not really sure. It's
a good job we live absolutely hundreds of miles away from each other. But no, I feel like I'm going to love it. This description alone, but it's an 80s horror film. How could you not find something to love in it?
Yeah, cheese on toast now with today's eyes, but then I can see how people. Yeah.
I can't. Do you know what? I will never go into something thinking this is going to be shit just because of the name of it or the time it came out, because The Blob has proven to me that horror was fucking fantastic in the 80s.
Yep, 100%. I still think that stands up as one of today's movies. There's a few things in that Blob, the remake, the 1988 remake, that I think could have been done a little bit better by today's standards, but the rest, perfect.
Perfection. Yeah. Absolutely perfection. Well, that is X-Files Home. I feel like there's nothing more you can say after that, you know. It's not like a Ghostface.
No.
It's a home.
It's a final statement, isn't it?
It's like ... Full stop.
Until we find a new one, yeah.
Well, we are on YouTube every Monday at 7 o'clock. You can find in the descriptions below the links for Bleeding Marvelous, Nerdy Up North, and Monsters Up North. And I beg you to check out bleedingmarvelous.com and their fantastic postmortem bags that have just been released.
Thank you.
Well done, my friend. Well done. And also check out our other stuff as well. She has some really cool shit on there.
I try. One tries.
You are at a convention this weekend?
Not this weekend, next weekend. We're at Aberdeen. We're all the way up there.
So this will air on Monday, and the following Sunday you will be in Aberdeen.
the 23rd and 24th, I think it is, of March. We are in Aberdeen.
Hey,
Yeah. So,
lucky Aberdeens. Oh, you'll drive past us.
yeah.
Shout
Well,
when you're in the northeast and I'll be like, down.
yeah, I'll probably remember when I get to the big iron bastard and then shout out the window, I've passed you. So,
You're nowhere near us. I'm
yeah,
further
exactly.
up.
That's what I mean. I'll remember when I get there and I've gone, fucking hell, where am
If you
I?
keep if that the Angel of the North keep on going and there's like the big Chesley Street roundabout, I literally am up the road from there.
I was
Not
gonna say, I
even
wasn't
joking.
sure if you were
I
below
am
it or
telling
above it.
everyone where I live.
I wasn't sure if you guys were above it or below it because my geography is so shit when it
Oh,
gets
mine's
to
terrible.
Newcastle. That's it. I know Edinburgh's over there, and I know Aberdeen's up
We
there.
are down.
That's it.
So we are down. So if you're coming, you're going that way.
Yeah.
So you're driving past me that way. Right. This is, yeah. Dan's in Aberdeen. And our audio for Monsters Up North goes up on a Tuesday. I feel like that's it.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind nipping over to Spotify, iTunes, and all the such, and giving us a little likey poos on there, a
Or
five
a
star,
thumbs up.
or a little heart, or a little comment about what you think we could do different. We're not adverse to a little bit of constructive criticism. However, don't be a dick.
Yeah, always remember the disclaimer and Dan's extended version of that. Yeah, leave a rating if you can. And I only say that in the nicest way possible because the rating system on, especially on iTunes, helps pick up into other people's algorithm. Thank you to everyone on TikTok as well who has exploded my monologue from last week. That was incredible. I appreciate that wholeheartedly. Have we got anything else or are we finished?
Finished.
Well, there's nothing else to say. Say goodbye, Dan.
Goodbye, Dan.
Stay spooky, everyone. Bye-bye.